following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today I'm joined with another host of another show, Kevin Kervick. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Kevin, I know we've had you on before,
Yeah.
and I was excited about having you back on because, you know, we had Gin Spirits on, and I keep wanting to say the gin, but it's Gin Spirit.
Don't pronounce the D. Okay.
Right, and he has a new refinery, not a refinery, but a brewery here in Nashua. And he has a particular brand of, obviously it's gin, or white whiskey.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the process, and I was excited because it's a new business.
Yeah.
And you have an idea with beers.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on with you.
Yeah, well, it's called Craft Beer Cellar, and it's part of a franchise. There's about 8 stores existing in Massachusetts, and they're expanding pretty rapidly. As of last count, there's about 15 stores opening up in the next, will have opened up within the past year or so. So. Ours is right down here in Nashua on Spitbrook Road and the New Terra Commons Boulevard. If all goes well, we'll be open the end of May, beginning of June, but a lot has to happen between now and then.
Now, do you have a recipe that you've developed?
No, we're strictly retail. So I've been a craft beer, sort of aficionado for probably 20 years. I was an early adopter in the whole, when beer went from like Budweiser to, like Allagash, like the sort of common beer to sort of specialty beer. I was an early adopter in that, so it's always been a hobby of mine.
Now, if you go into Mass, you'll see, you can find a thing called Speckled Hen, you can find everything.
Yeah.
And I used to like beer. I don't drink anymore, but I liked it a lot. But, you go and you can find anything. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, we'll hopefully have the best beer in New Hampshire. There's probably 10 retail beer stores in New Hampshire that have really good beer, and we hope to be one of those. Over time, we hope that we can really compete with them and have the best beer available in New Hampshire. We're a little bit limited because our distribution system is a little bit limited. We've got some laws that inhibit the free flow of beer from other states into New Hampshire. We have the sort of state store system. Right. So there's some things that we're competing against in New Hampshire, but we're still able to really get some pretty good kind of high-end beer. And what we really have that's great is we have an exploding small brewer market. They call them nano brewers or small brewers. And that market is absolutely exploding. In Hillsborough County alone now, we have about, I think, 11 brewers now. And many have just popped up in the last 6 months.
Including the king of beers.
Well, they've always been here, yeah.
It's funny, just the other day I was driving up Amer Street, and this huge Budweiser truck comes right up. It's beautiful colors and all that kind of stuff. And I noticed on the logo, I've never read this before, but Asia, and it has different continents that they're the king of beers. But if you just like that's and they got a couple of micro brews, but if you like something a little bit more darker or something, I don't know how to describe all the flavors. If you like the skunky smell, whatever.
No skunky smell in our store. The skunky smell actually comes from oxidation. So if a bottle is exposed to light, it creates that skunky smell. So one of the reasons that if you go in a beer store, they really try to limit the amount of light from the windows, because even the light from the windows can really affect the beer. And a lot of brewers are now going to cans. We grew up to, cans were sort of the worst thing you can have, right? But now they're really switching to cans because the metal keeps the light out better than the bottles, right? So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So when you buy milk, there's an expiration date on it.
Yeah.
And so what they do with the milk, they take it back to another type of refinery and they make cheese out of it. what happens to the beer?
That's a great question.
And what do you do? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to turn it
Yeah.
over, and
Yeah.
and if you're going to have a large inventory,
Yeah.
you're juggling a lot of balls.
You got to keep it moving fast, right?
Right.
You got to sell it fast. So the good thing about distribution is it's fast. You can make an order on Monday and get it by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. And so you have to keep the shelves moving really fast
Yeah.
because there is an expiration date on beer and it will go bad. Depending on the style of beer, it'll go bad sooner. So things like a double IPA, you really want to drink that really fresh. I can tell, any beer kind of geek can tell if you've got an old IPA that's been around for a while.
Right.
So certain beers you do really want to drink quicker, so we do try to move them on the shelves as fast as possible and not over inventory.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have stuff sitting around for a long time.
Would you
so.
would you have to know your market in order to do this? I mean,
Yeah.
How did you figure out the market, or or is it going to be a test drive?
It's a
as you
very
go?
serendipitous story. So, I've often thought maybe I should open a store or something. I mentioned on the last show with you that I'm tired of my sort of family therapy career.
Right.
Sort of burned out with that a little bit.
It's driving you to drink, man.
No, I always drank before. But I thought, maybe we should open a beer store. So one of our sister stores opened in Portsmouth, and I went for the opening. I go to all the grand openings for any time there's a beer store. So I went, and the owner of the franchise, her name is Suzanne, happened to be there, and she said, oh, we're trying to open a store in Nashua. And I said, oh, where? And she said, in South Nashua. I said, oh, is it in the Terra Commons? She goes, yeah, as a matter of fact, it's, and I'm like, I live a half a mile from there. And I thought, So I went home and talked to my wife. My son was also in a transition, and he probably could use something. And so things were falling together, and,
Yeah.
and I said to Karen, my wife, I said, you really want to do this? She goes, well, you want to do it, right? I said, yes, I do, but only if you really want to do it too, because we all have to be in this together.
Yeah.
And so she was in, my son Brian was in, and I kind of jumped in, and then we just decided to go for it. So it's very close to our house, as I said, so it's right down the street. I know the beer industry. I know beer pretty well. I've always been pretty good at customer service. My son's real good at customer service. My wife is a HR professional, so she has employee relations background.
Right.
So we kind of had the pieces to come
Do you plan on
together.
having some employees, a number of employees?
Probably, but with a small business,
Sure. Starting up is hard. Yeah.
It's hard to start up, and
Yep.
keeping the labor costs down is really key. So we'll probably have a couple staff to start, and maybe
So-
grow to maybe 5 or 6 within a year or two.
And that congratulations on that. And
Thanks.
I know. I mean, you have to get your workers' comp. You got to get your
Yeah.
liability insurance. You
All
got to
that
go
stuff.
through the process of
Yeah.
getting licensed.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Then you get the payroll. You get the deductions.
Mhm.
There's a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
And you've worked all that out, obviously.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you got the storefront.
Yeah. at the
How,
store.
how large is the storefront?
It's 1,900 square feet, but about 1,650 usable space. So we have a little office in the back. If the audience wants to take a look, drive down Spitbrook Road. It's the new little Terra Commons Plaza. It's right by Exit 1. There's a little plaza, and our sign went up as of yesterday. So let's see the craft beer cellar sign up there.
And it
So
opens when?
If all goes well, we'll open before Memorial Day.
Okay.
But things have to fall into place. We're getting a big, huge walk-in refrigeration unit, and that's a major production to get that in. Today they were on the roof drilling holes and all kinds of stuff. So to get that in is a major production. So that's a variable we can't control.
Right.
So the sooner that comes in,
Just put it
the
outside.
better.
It's winter still. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's been a bad year.
Well, people like cold beer.
Yeah.
as
I was just
much
going to
as,
ask you about the cold
yeah.
beer. We've had some people from England on the show, and
Yeah.
of course they like warm beer.
Cellar temperature, sure. Yeah.
Is that something that's going to be in the cards, or is that
We'll do both. I mean, ideally, if you had your druthers, all beer probably should be stored in like a basement without any light around, kind of cellar temperature. But Americans, our palate, we're just trained on cold beer,
yeah.
right? So people do come in looking for a cold beer. So they may come in after work at 5:30. They're going to have a beer before dinner or after dinner, and they don't want to have to put it in the refrigerator and wait 3 or 4 hours. So they still do want cold beer, and different styles are better cold. Like
Right.
I had a Bock beer last night, a Helles Bock, a German style beer, and I served it really cold, like almost maybe 40 degrees cold, 38 degrees. And it was just delicious.
Yeah.
That style I think drinks really well cold. But an English ale, like a pale ale in England, it'd be about as cold as this
You're sitting
glass
there
of
at the
water.
table for an hour. You might as well.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. Or stouts also. Stouts, darker beers, typically you want to serve a little bit warmer.
And what's the idea of having that little ball in the beer cans? I know there's
the thing that makes it
there's a I don't know if it's got a bumblebee on it or something like that, but
Yeah.
you can hear like a little. And you don't want to shake it, obviously, but you know that there's a ball in there to.
Yeah,
what does that do?
Guinness does that, and a couple. It helps it to pour the right kind of head. So I majored in psychology, so I have no idea how these things
Right.
work, but it helps it pour well. So if you pour a Guinness, you get that cascade effect.
Yeah.
Then you wait 5 minutes or so, and then it kind of. So that's what that thing does. I forget what it's called, but you caught me on a question I don't really know.
No, that's
very well,
fine. Well, another thing, you're going to have all kinds of beers, and people are going to come into your store and they're going to say, I want a Budweiser.
Sorry.
I'm kidding you. Instead of buying a full six-pack, can they buy a single and say, I'd
Yes.
like to try that? Or
Yeah.
is there like a variety pack?
Yeah. So great question. Thanks. Two things about that. The second is kind of a political answer, so that'd be kind of interesting. But New Hampshire allows you to sell single beers, right? So you can come into our store and buy a bottle, a 4-pack, a 6-pack. We'll sell kegs as well.
I was going to ask you that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility. You pay a little more markup if you buy a single beer than you would if you buy
Sure.
less. But we'll have containers, and you'll be able to mix and match, which is great because you might have like 6 awesome beers from different companies around the state, around the country that you can kind of mix and match. And so it's kind of exciting if you like to sample different things.
Well, that's just say, if you go in and buy a 6-pack, you say, oh, geez, this is gross. And then you just, you didn't, or a 4-pack or whatever.
Yeah.
Are there any local distributors that you want to drop a line or just throw a plug in?
A couple. I mean, I had Greg Woolette from Martha's Exchange on last week. He's the head brewer there. So please go to Martha's. It's a wonderful place, and he's brewing some great beer. There are 2 new brewers. One is in Merrimack, and they're called Abel Ebenezer Brewing Company. New guys just came. They're kind of Liberty guys. They just came from around the country and literally just are throwing it together now in Merrimack. They're supposed to open in the spring.
I think Nashville is going to be the brew hub of the state, it seems.
We're getting there. That's my goal.
That's kind of cool, that it has a niche like that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I heard there was a place somewhere downtown, too, that people can actually make their own
Yeah,
beers.
Incredible Brew in South Nashua. Yeah.
Yeah, and people, just experimenting and,
Yeah.
you get what you put into it. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But, a couple of distributors. Are there more distributors around the state?
There's another new one called House, Haus Ales. He's in Northwood. Another real crafty kind of new guy that's phenomenal. Millie's Tavern is now brewing to sell. They're going to brew under Stark Brewing Company. They're another wonderful place. There's 2 new guys just opened up in Derry or London Derry called Kelson Brewing Company. Small entrepreneurs as well, really smart guys, cool guys, making a good product.
Why is there such an influx of beer brewers?
Well, because beer is fun.
Yeah.
And the typical beer story is, some gal or some guy and working in a cubicle, and I'm tired of working for the man, and it's stressful, and the bureaucracy. I want to do something creative, and so the beer culture still embodies some of that. So people are really drawn to that whole kind of concept.
A little independence.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're creating something. You're.
And demand is real high, Kevin, real high. So people are making money at it. Not a lot, but people are making money because the demand for craft beer is really growing. So.
And how do they find their niche? I wonder. What are the ingredients? I mean, you wonder what possesses them to go with a little more hops or a little less hops. Are you going to use a copper still, or? I mean, it's
great question. I mean, different ingredients, different types of hops become kind of in vogue. Like right now, the citrusy hops are in vogue. So if you drink an IPA or a double IPA, it might taste like grapefruit now or something like that. And so there's some great places in Vermont that are doing that, and now everybody's doing that.
Is it the Blue Moon or Blue Nun or something? People throw in an orange.
What
is that?
Blue Moon.
Blue Moon.
Blue
right.
Moon. Yeah.
I've seen that. I'm thinking.
Yeah, that leads me back to my other answer to your other question, if you don't mind. So our franchise is kind of, what's the word, anti-corporate, I guess I would say. So we're not allowed to sell InBev or Miller Coors products on our store. So InBev now owns Anheuser-Busch, and Coors, Miller Coors owns Miller and Coors, all this. So those, we can't sell the big brands. I actually have a list in our manual of the things that we can't sell. And it's part because
Oh, so is what so you basically have a franchise then?
we're part of a franchise.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Okay, yeah. It's part of a quality issue because, we just think that those beers are mass-produced, the quality isn't quite as good, but there's also sort of a sense that those macro brewers are, kind of anti-competitive.
Yeah.
And they've always tried to push the small business guy down and kind of keep them out of business, keep them from getting into the market. So part of our philosophy is that we really want to open up the floodgates for the little guy to really produce great creative stuff. And to
So
really
no
compete.
Keystone or anything like that?
No. So if it's like a big brand you've heard of, there's a good chance we can't. Or if they buy them out, like InBev just bought Blue Point. Blue Point, I hope they have the right brewing company. So now we can't sell that, even though it was sort of like a micro. There's a beer called Goose Island that used to be out of Chicago. Can't sell that. It's owned by InBev or Miller Coors, I think. So.
Usually when you think of a beer store, I know up in, I think it's just close to Winnisquam, Tilton Line. There's a store up there as well. Of course, you can buy cigars there and buy your lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Is that going to be something similar?
Yeah.
You go in there, you're going to buy your speckled hen, or you're going to buy your whatever, and then, you know what, I'll take a Corona beer, whatever, a hoagie, or Daffendorf.
We're very snobby, I'm not going to lie. So our niche is going to be, sort of the highest end drinker, right? So our typical drinker is the sort of, guy with a master's degree that, is working in somewhere and, talks about beer like it's his, a house he just bought kind of a thing. So, or, so we are definitely going for that niche audience, that niche market that wants to buy, because we charge a lot. So our beers are very expensive.
Right.
And so people will come in. So it'll be like going to a fancy restaurant as opposed to going to a moderate restaurant or a sort of Applebee's type restaurant.
Right.
So we're very much.
So it'll be
going for
exclusive that. No cigars, no lottery tickets.
No, definitely not lottery tickets. We could do cigars if we got a different license. In fact, our combination license, you can sort of do cigars too.
Yeah, might as well sell firearms too, tobacco, whatever.
At some point
I'm kidding.
But
Non-political here.
For now, we're not doing cigars, but we are going to do wine, and we have to do food because New Hampshire has this really awful law that any beer grocer license has to also sell food. So we have to stock $3,000 worth of foodstuffs at all times, even though we're a beer store.
What will you stock?
So we're going to go for the New Hampshire local kind of market. So we're going to do, there's a guy in Hollis that has this kind of world-renowned spaghetti sauce. I forget his name. Sorry, I forget his name. But that kind of stuff.
High-end stuff, yeah.
High-end spaghetti sauce. Or
made by local people.
So hopefully we'll have only New Hampshire products. When people walk in the door, right off exit 1, they're driving up from, we'll say we only stock New Hampshire products here. Nice. Either New Hampshire made or New Hampshire produced products.
Yeah, we had, not too long ago, we had the Farmer's Diner or Dinners on here. And
oh, yeah.
What a great show. I just thought it was a great idea.
I watched that show.
Yeah,
I watched it. Yeah,
Appreciate
it was a good show. Yeah.
That was you. But the whole idea of just having local farms work with local restaurants, I love this. Nashua has it's a great community. I mean, every time you turn around, there's something good happening in Nashua, and I like that idea. And it supports our economy. It's great to help others, but charity starts at home sometimes.
Yeah, I do too. I'm a huge buy local person, and I don't mind paying a couple dollars or a couple cents more to buy something that I know, if I know the person, or if I feel there's some local quality, or there's a lot of research that if you eat local, it's healthier for you. So I'm all about that, and we're going to be big time about having, being ambassadors for New Hampshire beer.
Yeah.
Any beer that's made in New Hampshire, we'll sell it. I mean, and we'll market it, and we'll let people know how good it is. So,
now, you have a website?
Yes. Yeah. If you Google craft beer cellar, that'll come up.
Craft beer cellar, and that's the name of the.
Yeah, ours is Craft Beer Cellar Nashua. So if you Google Craft Beer Cellar Nashua, our Facebook page will go up, and we're putting all the pictures of our build out. So it's kind of exciting.
So please like it.
Please like it. Please like our page. But today I was taking pictures we had a big crane. We had a 250-pound air conditioner compressor going up on the building. So I got pictures of that going up on the building. It's kind of exciting, you know.
What an adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
fun.
an adventure. I remember starting my business 25, 26 years ago. I didn't have anything. I was forced to join the union, and I walked out. I didn't like that idea, and I started knocking on doors that day, and I didn't have equipment. I had nothing.
What business is that?
It's just a cleaning business.
Okay, I saw it in the van out there, yeah.
And it was liberating. It was exhilarating, and I worked around the clock, and I was worth 3 men at the time. Now I'm not. I'm worth 1. I'm 51, but the whole idea of being independent was, you know, and not having to take orders. You can come and go. If I want to work longer, great. You know, it was a fun thing to do, and I congratulate you on that. It's exciting for you.
You as well for walking away and starting something. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it was pretty much, you know, it was more or less working for the big corporation, and I just felt like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And then I had to move into another section. I said, okay, I'm all set with that.
Yeah.
So independence, and it comes with its responsibilities, but the benefits are like you said, you can come and go, and sometimes it can own you. Sometimes you know.
At least it's
something you like to do.
something we want to do. So.
Right.
Yeah, so come and buy our beer. So.
Okay, so the name of the website is...
Even though you don't drink them, give it away to people.
Yeah,
so.
I don't...
Yeah, Craft Beer Cellar Nashua. Just, you have to Google it. I'm not sure the exact letters, but just Google Craft Beer Cellar. It's C-E-L-L-A-R.
Okay.
So C-E-L-L-A-R. But Craft Beer Cellar Nashua on our Facebook page will come. If you Google my name, you'll get a whole bunch of stuff. Some of it you probably won't want to read, but a lot of political stuff and everything else too.
Well, this is a non-political show, so so anyway, congratulations, and we hope that the people visit you know, if they want to try a microbrew or whatever. Are they all microbrews?
Yeah, the word we use today is craft beer.
Craft beer, okay.
But it's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. So high-end craft beer.
High-end craft beer. So you want to get your high-end craft beer, head down to South Nashua to the Craft
Beer Cellar.
Craft Beer Cellar.
Yeah.
Kevin Kervick. And thanks for watching Gate City Chronicles. We want to thank our sponsor, Avard, Dean of Clean, the carpet cleaner in Nashua. You can reach him at 603-630-1743. And if you would like some more information about Gate City Chronicles or want to be a guest, contact me at gatecitychronicles@gmail.com. Until next week, thanks for watching.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.